Let me see a frat.
Trust me, you don't want to go there.
Why not?
Alex, sir, welcome to the Awards Tour podcast.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. You're always one of my favorite people to talk to in the world.
Same here, because you're such a great person to talk movies with. And most of the time, it is with movies that you're involved in, including this new one, The Line. I got to see this one. It's visceral. I'd love to know how this project came to you, because I know it's one that you've worked on for quite a while and got very intimately involved in the production.
Thank you for watching it. I got attached to it in about 2018 or 19. I don't even remember at this point. And we didn't film it till I think, late 2022, I think. And it's taking till now for it to come out. And a lot of movies have a long road, but this is definitely the longest road that I've seen. And I'm just so grateful to be in it. I read the script. It was kind of just some small script. I think it was in an email with another script, and they were trying to get me to read this other script, but the line was also attached to it. It had a different title at that point, and I read it, and I said, I really love this one. Anyway, yes, I was attached to it, and I just fell in love with it, and I thought it was a thriller that really carefully tackled and explored very empathetically this crisis that's going on in America with fraternities. And he really cleverly examined this idea that masculinity has become how much pain can you endure. And it's hard because the movie's so nuanced. So I don't want to say too much because I don't want to make it like it's just one thing, because I found it to be very complex. It's like an artichoke, there just keeps things on top of it. But I felt that he really explored masculinity in a great way. And I think fraternities promise a lot. And a lot of these kids who I think are naive and insecure and desperate for some type of identity, they try to protect this tradition that is not protecting them. And I think it's after I got the part, I did so much research on these kids that have lost their lives. And now, things like Timothy Piazza, you just see how gruesome this can get. And I think it is about the fact that humans, especially I think young men, are pack animals, and they're put in a situation where they can and will sacrifice their moral integrity to fit in with their brothers for, under the guise of this tradition or something holy or royal about it. And you realize that it's not. It's,
smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, it's smoke and mirrors.
What I think is interesting is that's a very reference to the title. I mean, that's what I think of it as, like, where is the line? Where is the line of your morality? Where is the line of your humanity? And in these groups, it gets very blurred. One thing I think was interesting with this, when I was speaking with the director, is he talked to me a little bit about how you really dove into the pre-production of this full force. You guys went to the University of South Carolina essentially for research. And when you got there, you picked up a couple actors.
Yeah. I thought these two kids had a really fresh perspective on the whole thing. And I also thought I thought, well, you're just not going to get this in Hollywood. Look at these two guys. Like, they're just so, I wanted to get even more. I was trying to get as many of them as possible because I also think that they had fraternity fatigue. They really supported the message of the movie, because I think after a certain point, especially once you're out of the hazing period, you can reflect and think, well, maybe that was ugly. I think a lot of kids feel like they were sold something that they actually didn't want. And I think that they had a very unique and fresh perspective. And I love those two guys. They were really helpful and very kind.
It's Nicholas and I believe the other,
Sal.
Okay, yeah.
Also Mason. So I guess there was a
Mason.
few.
There's a few of them. Yeah.
Mason was picked up. I think Ethan really kidnapped him, but the ones that I had my eye on were Nick and Sal. I said have to be in the movie, and Mason does an amazing job. Though they both have just incredible scenes.
Yeah, very much so. And a few of them with you. One interesting aspect of this, because your character essentially, he's a disciple of this, right? He really does believe that this is his path to advancement, to assimilation to a level of the American dream that's probably not accessible to him based on his background. You know what I mean? He's a single parent mother and all of that. What I thought poor, yeah. Poor. Yep. Not with his roommate and friend that is played, Bo, right? Bo
Mitchell, who's incredible.
Bo Mitchell, who plays Mitch, his roommate is, silver spoon, daddy's gonna fix everything, literally, very sensible of a woman in that respect.
Absolutely.
What's interesting with him is his assimilation was something that you did with The Voice, because this is a good old boy fraternity in South Carolina. They all have a certain affectation. And he, although maybe from the South, probably did not grow up with those same affectations. And so you play a little dialogue with this, I'm guessing. I felt that when I was watching it. Don't want to be like, and you just come right now and be like, no, I just lost the accent. Like, no, it was meant to be there, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's, it changes. I think that we do have a tendency to, thank you for noticing that. And that's really a great part of the movie. And I think it's something that, Ethan and I spoke about 3 years before the movie got made, is we all know someone who either did an exchange program or something and came back with an English accent, or we know someone who goes home for the holidays and suddenly is doing a Southern accent. And I think we do a lot of things to assimilate everybody. And some people just take it further than others, especially when their, regular voice isn't something that they feel particularly good about. When he's at home, it's just he and his mom and his sister who he doesn't feel connected to. I don't think that he's just putting it on. I think that's something that happens when you assimilate, is so much of your identity gets wrapped up in it. I don't think he knows that he's really doing it. He knows that his mom is saying it. I think he is, leaning into it, but I do feel that it just follows him around because of that's where he's gotten safe. And then his safe home, his identity, the things that have made him feel powerful and in charge and filled with promise, has been affiliated with this voice, this persona, this walk, this identity. So I don't think it's till really at the end of the movie that he's trying to peel it back. But I don't think that the end of the movie is necessarily who he is. I think that they're both him. I think that's also part of the line, is it's the line between who are you pretending to be and who are you really? I like at the end of BoJack Horseman where she says something where she's like, well, I don't really believe in the idea of a good person. I think you kind of are, what you do is who you are. Yeah. And I think Tom is really riding that line of who is he? Is he, is he a good person? Is he not? Do you believe in that? Does he have a good heart? Is he? So I just find that character to be so interesting. And I'm really excited about this movie.
I don't even think I could do that when I was thinking about this. And again, I want folks to check it out because it is a movie that demands that, okay, watch it and just know that it's going places that you don't expect. But at the end of it, the thing I came to was not that he was a good person or a bad person. One thing I knew for sure is that this incident was going to be like a canon moment for his character.
Absolutely.
And it's still within his choice as to where that ends up. This will either define him positively or this will define him negatively. And it's kind of up to him what ends up happening with that. And I thought that was a more interesting place to take the character.
Oh, that's all Ethan. He really had that vision.
And for me,
sorry,
go ahead. Oh, no, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm much more interested in what you were going to say.
No, I was going to say, and for me, that was why your performance was so brilliant, was because I was left with that.
Thank God I let you speak. Thank God I let you speak. You were going to say my performance was brilliant, and I'm just not going to speak for the rest, and maybe there'll be more compliments coming my way. Thank you for saying it's brilliant. This was one of those ones. It's a real labor of love. And you know what's cool is I think people are really interested in seeing it, because it's fun too. I mean, that's also an important part that I want to, in case anyone who's in a fraternity sees this interview or whatever and says oh, well, I had a lot of fun in the beginning. What are you talking about? That's part of it. The first half of the movie is a seduction. It's like The Mob, it's like Goodfellas or something, them kind of making it look glitzy and glamorous, and then it all falls down. I think that's actually what's the most interesting part of these things, is how people get sucked in and how they tumble.
Yeah, and it's part of, and this premiered 2023, but now it's coming out, and it's part of this interesting run for you, because you began this year being a small but mighty part of the Oppenheimer Oppenhomies sort of celebration, right? And then going into A Quiet Place, and just how that ended up being such a great hit, and then now sort of like continuing on. It's been an interesting year. I really do feel like, do you feel like this year feels different? I mean, Hereditary was a big year, but I feel like this one is different.
Wow, thank you for saying that. I guess I'm just always so self-critical and looking at the negativity of life that I didn't even really notice that it was a great year. But no, I'm very, very grateful. I think it's just luck. I think it's luck that these things came out, and that if it's just taught me that you just got to follow your taste, because I think this wasn't a movie people were like clamoring for, to get their client in, because it's a small movie. And then it just happened to be all these incredible actors, Angus Cloud and John Malkovich, all these people came aboard. And the same thing with Quiet Place. I just talked to Michael about being a part in it, and then it ended up being this amazing thing. So I think you just kind of have to follow your taste, and it will lead you to success in every way, because even if it's not successful, I've done my fair share of movies that nobody sees or cares about or likes, but it doesn't feel that much pain because you still believe in it. You kind of know why you did something, where the other is kind of painful when you do something because you think it'll promise a lot of riches and then it doesn't. That's even more painful.
Yeah, and it's not over. So Long, Marianne, is that later this year, or is that already out? Because I didn't see it.
That's out everywhere.
It is out everywhere. Okay, it's already out.
Except for the US. It's interesting. I think the US, that's kind of part of their thing. We want a US distributor to put it out, but I think the most important thing for that was the Canadian audience to enjoy it. And it was a co-production of Canada and Norway. And what we really cared about was the Norwegians and the Canadians liking it, and really all of Europe, because it came out in Germany and Italy, and it's coming out in the UK. So I think that was really important, because, Leonard Hallelujah didn't come out in the US for a long time, and Hallelujah came out everywhere else. And I think Leonard has always felt misunderstood in the US. So I think it's kind of serendipitous that, maybe not serendipitous, but it's funny that now the show is doing so well overseas.
Elsewhere,
in the US. People don't really
No, I knew that it had been doing well, but I hadn't seen it, and I was like, I couldn't find it, and I was like, but I know that it's like, listen, this is actually brings me to my next question, which I think is so funny. So do you remember this moment on the carpet of A Quiet Place? Because it was so funny. It was you, it was Lupita, it was Joseph, it was everyone involved in this movie. And do you remember the question that they asked on the carpet, where they were like, who couldn't keep close? I know. I'm just going to go ahead and ask you this. I feel, as a kindred spirit of somebody who can just talk, that I was like, but who do you want to have? Because there's information, because he would have the information on where to go. You know what I mean?
I love that.
What was that moment like for you? Because
I don't think that's what they meant. I don't think they meant that I would supply information. I think they thought, maybe you or somebody could supply information. I think to have me there would not to be to relay good information. I think it would just be to cheer everybody up and accepting that terrible things are going to happen. I actually don't know necessarily that I would die first. I do know that I would be loud, and I do know that I would be making jokes during it, which is obviously not what should be happening, but I know myself, and I think I would. But I think I'd cheer everybody up and be like, guys, we're going to be okay. We're going to be totally fine. Even if it wasn't true, I would be an extremely positive force who'd die pretty quickly.
I dig that. You've also done a little bit of music stuff this year, which I thought was interesting, in the sense that you were in the Donald Glover Childish Gambino video.
And we're on tour right now. We're on tour with Billie Eilish right now. That's
what I was just about to ask, because first of all, I did not know this, and I'm not like a starry person, but I'm so fascinated by this. Y'all are like childhood friends? Is this correct?
No, not childhood friends.
Not childhood friends, but both of y'all are LA babies. But both of y'all are kind of LA, New York?
New York
babies. Oh, no. Oh, New York babies. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or
right.
actually, I was born in LA, but we moved when I was like 1. So we grew up in New York. We didn't know each other. We hadn't crossed paths. She has Tourette's. We have Tourette's. And we kind of bonded over that initially. And it was really during Oscars time when Oppenheimer came out. I think those parties are very schmoozy and you can't always connect with people on a real level. And Billie was there, and we just really connected and hit hard and went to a diner and stayed there till like 7 a.m. and just became best friends and kind of were inseparable since then. And then we all played each other, music, and we were jamming, and she just seemed to really like our music and asked us to go on tour. And it was like, it's been the most fun thing I've maybe ever done. And we're playing Madison Square Garden tomorrow and Thursday and Friday. So I'm pretty nervous and excited.
OMG. First of all, let's talk about this. The things that happen in the Oscar, like this is the stuff that happens when it's good, when you go to like an Oscar run. You're like, forget scenario. Anything else.
Well, and it wasn't like we're network. It wasn't like that. Like I run out of my social battery very quickly, those things. And I think I had gone and sat on a couch, and then she happened to be there. And then I was sort of dancing, and then we started talking about everything. And she gave me a big hug, and she had met my brother. And so then the three of us were hanging, and we just had our own little section. So all the cool, other people were doing cool Hollywood stuff, but we were like in this weird side Tourette's corner.
I dig this. Oh, I love it. No, connection. That's what I mean. Connecting with film fans, connecting over shared interests. Yeah, you're all kind of stuck together, but that's like the collegiate aspect of an Oscar class, because that's what they call it.
Back. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, we are here on the awards tour. It's interesting for you, though, because I think it's funny that you say you've been so self-critical, because you've been a part of some pretty big cinema moments between Hereditary, Oppenheimer, Jumanji. Like, there's been some things that you have done that have sort of like piqued the global outside. And I know you've said some of your favorite things are the things that people saw less. Besides your work, like besides when you're behind the camera and maybe some of the stuff that you've written, what would you say has been the most impactful project from your filmography?
Oh, wow. Well, I always say The Cat in the Moon, the movie I directed, because that was just, most creatively fulfilling. And then maybe So Long, Marianne and The Line. I mean, I think I've been really lucky that recent time, and the way maybe this year is different, is these are they feel like mine, So Long, Marianne and The Line and Cat in the Moon really feel like mine. They really feel like, when someone doesn't like it, it hurts my feelings. It's different than other things. So those are a good, maybe it's just because of something I've done more recently, but then also our two new songs that just came out are very close to my heart. Backup Plan is about, the worst time in my life, and Soft Kissing Hour is just a great romantic ballad written by my brother that I love, that Billie produced and sang on. So that's also been really fun and impactful.
Yeah, so you have that's your second feature, Cat in the Moon, correct? Or no, you had two shorts. You had two shorts. Yeah.
I had like 6 shorts. 2 of them were even reasonably good. One of them is actually the worst thing I've ever seen. And then Cat in the Moon, my first feature, and I'm making my next one at the start of next year.
That's what I was going to ask you about. So I've always known, and again, true Renaissance man, you're a musician, an actor, director, you've produced things, obviously.
But I can't do anything else. I think that is part of it. I put a lot of my energy, seriously, into these creative things, but I really struggle in other areas. And I really I can't have the same pair of keys for longer than like a couple days at a time. Like I lose stuff. I'm like really stupid about time. I really my life is so much of me apologizing for the ways that my brain works. Which sounds kind of like, oh, you just got to deal with it. But it is at this point, like 26 years, what am I going to just like hate myself for the rest of my life? Like we have to accept that I can't do so many things. It's crazy. You have no idea.
I actually do, because I do the same thing.
I am so bad at stuff. Like I'm so bad at regular organizational things. Like people can't believe it. Like they're like, how did you lose that? Even like the laminate, like I have like a thing that helps you be backstage for Billie. I'm the opening act, and I keep having to like beg these security people, like, please let me back. I promise I was just on stage. And they're like, do you have your thing? I'm like, no, I lost it. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I dig this though because I live that same existence where you can fly high when you're behind the camera. But tell me about this next project though. I want to make sure we get you to talk a little bit about that before you get
What
out
I'm
of here.
directing or getting
Yeah,
another.
the directing, not
Okay.
losing things. We've gone deep on that.
Yeah, we've really talked a lot about losing things.
That's okay. But yeah, it's I guess If
It's
She
called If She
Burns.
Burns, yeah.
Yeah.
It's called If She Burns, and it's about this a troubled young woman who goes on vacation with her family after this terrible accident. And while she's there, she meets this young, mysterious neighbor, and it starts to be this kind of a pressure cooker of a movie of about her and what she's going through and why this accident happened. And it only starts to really come to the surface in relation to this guy that she's met in Italy. And she's got her family there, and it starts to build a lot of drama. I mean, it's hard to talk about because I don't want to give anything away, but there's, magical realism and there's some stuff in it. But it's starring Victoria Pedretti, who is incredible, and Justice Smith, who is incredible, and Asa Butterfield is in it, and I'm in it.
Who's incredible?
Thank you. Who's who loses everything. But yeah, that movie is gonna be a lot. I think that is gonna maybe demand the most of anything because it's really about one person's world collapsing and watching how this person tries to survive. Because I think my filmography has a lot of it's been devoted to young people and them dealing with themselves. And I think the movie, If She Burns, at its core, is about a woman dealing with herself and dealing with her past and how it creeps up on her. And so it's a thriller, and I think it's romantic and sexy and funny, and I think I think it's going to be rich, but we'll see.
I can't wait to watch it, and when it happens, we'll come back and talk about its influences. So it's great.
Yes, I am so ready. That I'm only making a movie so I can talk about. I like Ari Aster said something like, at this point, like I'm only making movies so it can be in conversation with other movies, and I feel that way. Like I want to talk about what I'm taking from Bergman and talk about what I'm taking from Antonioni and talk about, close up and the shots from that. And I just want to talk about that. That's all I care about.
Well, we will be there for when you do. Alex, thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time on the Awards Tour podcast.
Thank you so much.